not worried about me, no reason to fight then, right? So tell him to keep my name out of his mouth.
I mean, that'd be a big fight. I mean, that fight that happened, I don't know when that happened. I mean, it's up to the guys in suits and things like that. It's up to Al and all them, but I wouldn't step on Jamal's toes or Jamil's toes. I know Jamal been yearning for that fight for a long time. I know Jamil been wanting that fight too. So, I mean, I'll let my guy Jamal get that fight first before I step on his toes and get that fight. But if that's a fight he can't get and I can get, I'll definitely take that fight. I don't know when it will happen, but, I'll definitely fight.
Errol Spence, he came out and he told Terence Crawford to keep his name out of his mouth. Because when Bud was asked about an Errol Spence fight, he said, I don't need an Errol Spence fight. He said, I'm fine without an Errol Spence fight. I'm already a Hall of Famer. So Errol Spence responded by stating, well, keep my name out your mouth then. So I don't understand why fighters like Crawford and Errol Spence, they always say, oh, I don't need Crawford, and vice versa. Bud would say the same thing about Errol when they both need each other. We already know what time it is. This is the fight of the decade. They both need each other. So in my humble opinion, I just think that's just all leverage talk. I think Bud says things like that in order to have leverage on the negotiations table. He don't want to seem desperate for the Errol Spence fight, so he won't get lowballed. At least that's how I'm viewing it, because Terence Crawford throughout the years always mentioned the fact that his main objective is to get the Errol Spence fight. The number one fight that he wants is the Errol Spence fight. So out of nowhere now, on more than one occasion, he said if he never fight Errol Spence, he will be fine with that. Even Andre Ward disagreed with that, because Andre Ward said if Terence Crawford retires without fighting Errol Spence, I don't think he could live with that. He's not going to be able to live without the fact that he did not fight Errol Spence and prove the doubters wrong. So even Andre Ward, who knows Terence Crawford personally, knows how bad Terence Crawford wants to fight. So both Errol Spence and Terence Crawford need each other. It takes two to rumble. Errol Spence needs Terence Crawford pound for pound number one status, and vice versa. So in my humble opinion, it's most likely due to leverage. Errol Spence recently came out and said a 60-40 split is what he wants to make the Terence Crawford fight. Even though it's a little premature to talk about cuts and stuff like that, until they actually start negotiating. If we start hearing about splits, then that makes sense. However, now, ain't no telling when the fight is going to happen, because Terence still with top rank. In the meantime, like I said, Terence Crawford did say it's either 50-50 or there is no fight. They had this conversation even a year ago. When it comes to Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, there's been a lot of going back and forth on the split. When we talk about A side, it's about how much money you're bringing in. And Errol Spence is obviously bringing in more money than Terence Crawford is. Don't get me wrong, Terence is a huge star as well. In order for Errol Spence to have the fight of the decade, he gonna need that dancing partner, in which is Terence Crawford. So
yeah, this is Jay calling from the Bay. I was actually going to debate you on the what you said about Crawford and Spence.
Talk to me about it. What's up?
Yeah, you had said that Spence needs Crawford, and I just don't agree with that. I think that Spence has gone without Crawford to pretty much do everything he had planned to do,
Well, let me rephrase that. I think they both need each other. Terence does need Errol Spence more, because Errol Spence, he still got a Canelo Alvarez fight on the table. Maybe it's not 100%, but he can get a Canelo Alvarez fight at 160, and that's huge. A win like that, it takes him to a superstar status. Errol Spence do have a lot of names on his side on PBC, so Terence does need him more. But at the end of the day, they both need each other, because this is like Errol Spence having his Hearn in his division, but only fights a haggler, which is Canelo, but he won't fight his Hearn, Terence Crawford, right? So I just feel that, they both need each other at the end of the day, but you are correct. Terence does need him more.
Yeah, here's why. Yeah, you're right. They both, I suppose, that they could, I would say Spence, he would benefit from a Terence Crawford fight. Like it'll really, it's a legacy fight for him, but I don't think he needs it, because he can still move up and be great, and his legacy can still be paved and passed. And pretty much Crawford, he kind of coming to the end of his career without having that, that stamp on it, and that stamp requires sense. And just like you said, like with the what is it, the Marvelous Four? I forget what they
The
call.
Golden Era, yeah.
What is it? Fabulous Four?
Yeah, the Fabulous Four.
Yeah, the Fabulous Four. Yeah, like I didn't like when they had that Relentless special with Terence Crawford and um, Andre Ward when they were speaking. And they were like, yeah, you're pretty much like, one of the Fabulous Four. It's just not your fault. And, pretty much like coddling him. And it's like, dude, you can't claim that Fabulous Four status if you haven't fought none of the other Fabulous Four. Like, you just can't do that.
Right.
Whether it's your fault or not, that's another thing. But you can't sit up here and say, well, I feel like I've done everything I needed to accomplish and I don't need them. And it's like, hold your horses, cool your jets, because we were watching you. We were paying close attention to you because we thought that you would be taking this energy to go over there to fight these guys. That's the whole reason we were watching you. We weren't watching Spence to watch him fight you. We were watching Spence because sky was the limit with him. And Floyd said years ago, hey, the super fight in the whole end of it is Canelo and Spence, and Spence gave him a black eye. So when he said that, it was around the same time. When he said that, everybody's like, okay, Spence going to be that guy that goes up and fights Canelo.
Right.
And so when Crawford's saying, hey, I don't need those guys, it's kind of like, well, dude, give us our money back, give us our attention back, because that's why we was placing it on you, because you were supposed to be the guy that was supposed to ruin Spence's plans. You were supposed to be that X factor that came into the welterweight division and being the one guy to be able to beat the boogeyman. And for him to kind of get, kind of build his whole name up off of it, because, that's what Bob Arum does. He uses other fighters to build up his fighter's name, and Spence was that guy. And when it comes down to the get down, you're talking about you don't need him. Like, nah. You needed him before when we was watching your fight. We didn't watch the Khan fight because we wanted to see you fight Khan. We didn't watch the Brook fight because we wanted to see you fight Brook. We wanted to see how you would do versus Brook within mind of how Spence did versus Brook. That's the reason we watched that fight. We didn't watch you fighting Jeff Horn because we wanted to see you fight Jeff Horn. We wanted to watch you fight Jeff Horn so you could fight Manny Pacquiao. So you really ain't really did nothing that really satiated us to make us like, okay, you can leave out of the sport now and we'd be satisfied. Like, hell no. That shit you did at 140, great. Hats off to you, historical. But dude, you milking that. You on 147 now, man. What have you done for us lately?
Yeah, what I say to that is, he did mention I do need the names. But when it was the lead up of Kell Brook versus Terence Crawford, Terence had an interview with Andre Ward, and he mentioned that Sugar Ray Leonard had the names. That's why he became a great. So he pretty much, the way he put it is that he's saying that he's a Hall of Famer, but in order for him to be a great, he has to get these names on his resume, like Keith Thurman's, the Sean Porters, and the Errol Spence. You mentioned Errol Spence. That's a name, I'm telling you right now, he's just saying that because he don't want to seem desperate on the negotiations table. He want to say like, oh, I don't need you.
True.
You know what I mean? If I don't get a 50-50 cut, I'm not fighting you. It's because all this is just negotiations talk. It's not for real. I'm telling you right now, Terence want that fight. He's just saying that for leverage. But when it comes down to the get down.
Nah, you know what?
Yeah,
right.
When it comes
right,
down,
because when he comes to the table,
yeah,
when they both come to the table, he ain't gonna be negotiating from a lower position. He's gonna be negotiating from the highest that he could have put himself in.
Right. So yeah, he don't
even
wanna,
if he don't, because you had said he wanted 50-50, but nah, he actually said on the live with Boxing Baby, the female on live, he had said, no, I want 60-40 in my favor. If it ain't that, I ain't fucking with it. So,
see, that's what I'm saying. So it's all leverage. It's all you want to try to act like the A side. And that's what you got to do before going into negotiations. The country I'm from, there's no prices. Unlike in the United States, there's prices everywhere. So you go buy 3 oranges, they will tell you, for example, or 3 oranges for $1. But you're gonna be like, oh, I only got 25 cents in my pocket. And then you kind of have to meet down in the middle, which is it becomes 50 cents and you pay 50 cents. And that's what I think Terence is doing, is like, oh, I'm the A side. I want 60-40. Errol Spence is saying he wants 60-40. So Terrence's plan is, as long we could meet down the middle 50-50, I'm cool with that. But I'm pretty sure if Errol Spence is demanding 55 of the split, I'm pretty sure Terence will take it. Now, the other fights that I still want to see Terence Crawford against is the Keith Thurmans, the Sean Porters, and the Ugas. I think all these fights are great legacy fights for him as well, on top of the Errol Spence fight. So I don't think the Errol Spence fight is just to settle the deal. I also think he needs other fights. But obviously, like you put it, the Errol Spence fight will stamp his legacy as the great fighter he wants to be recognized.
I'm pretty. Hold it. You're not that pretty. I'm a bad man. Wait. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I bear witness, there's only one God, Allah, and Muhammad is his final messenger. That's what I said, Larry, on the Bungle fight. Thanking you.
They call me the problem, but you could call me the can man, because anybody can get it. Africans, Americans, Dominicans, Mexicans, anybody can get it.